Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Inshallah, brothers and sisters, please ask your questions online. Jazakumullah khair.
خلاص. You ready?
You can ask them to
صح إن شاء الله.
format. Inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Before we get started with our Q&A session tonight, a little brief benefit for myself and perhaps for you guys, inshallah ta'ala. It's a faida from the kalam of Sheikh Ibn Sa'di rahimahullah, that's quoted from Sheikh Abdul Salam al-Barjis من عوائق الطلب, page 28. He says, وقال الشيخ عبد الرحمن السعدي رحمه الله تعالى أما العلم النافع فهو العلم المزكي للقلوب والأرواح. He says, as far as beneficial knowledge, question that we always hear, what is beneficial knowledge? What websites can I surf? What videos can I watch? Who can I listen to? Who should I attend? What camp should I go to? What country, what school, what university, etc. The general answer, not the specifics, but the general qaida, because many of us don't even have a proper grasp and conceptualization of the general qaida. And we jump headfirst into the specifics and the details. Many of us, if not most of us. So, Ibn Sa'di, he says, as far as beneficial knowledge, what is beneficial knowledge? He says beneficial knowledge is the knowledge which purifies the hearts and the souls. It's the knowledge that gives and provides tazkiyah. It cleanses, it purifies the heart and the soul. So if you're listening to someone, watching someone's videos, reading a book, attending a class, going to a lecture, paying money, a fundraiser, a hotel, wherever you're going or doing, if you don't feel your heart being cleansed and your soul being purified, then according to Sa'di, that's the first strike. Everybody understand this? He moves forward. Al-muthmiru li sa'adat ad-darain. It is the knowledge which produces many fruitful benefits. And from them, he says, is happiness in both worlds. Happiness in both worlds. So if it's just a spiritual thing, but your world is in constant misery and suffering and hardship and difficulty and problem, then that's another strike. If it provides you benefits in this life, but it doesn't give any spiritual content, then that's also a problem. Moving forward, he says, وَهُوَ مَا جَاءَ بِهِ الرَّسُولُ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ من حديث وتفسير وفقه وما يعين على ذلك من علوم عربية بحسب حالة الوقت والموضع الذي فيه الإنسان. He says, in this beneficial knowledge which purifies, which causes happiness, which, he says is the beneficial knowledge that the Messenger ﷺ has brought. That which has come via the Messenger of Allah, Hadith, Sunnah. From Hadith, Tafsir, and Fiqh. So we benefit from this kalam that these are the three main tiers of ilm. The three main pillars of ilm, Hadith, Tafsir, and Fiqh. Everybody understand this? He didn't say this, he didn't say that. These three things. Hadith, Tafsir, and Fiqh. From the Hadith, there's Aqidah, there's Akhlaq, there's Fiqh, there's this, there's that, so on and so forth. From the Tafsir, all those things as well. From the Fiqh, and the list goes on. These are the three main tiers. He then says, and also that which assists one in understanding these things. How do you understand tafsir, hadith, and fiqh? Except through Arabic. He says, min ulum al-arabiyyah. So if you're studying with someone and devoted to someone, even if the person isn't teaching you Arabic, you don't have to teach you Arabic, but he's not advising you and instructing you to learn Ajurumiyah, to learn this book and that book, and study in the language program and memorize this poem and understand it, something is wrong. That which assists you in having understanding of Ibn Kathir, that which assists you in having understanding of Sahih Bukhari, that which assists you in having an understanding of Ar-Rawd al-Murbi', for example, in fiqh. Okay? He says, listen carefully, according to one's time. According to how much time you have. You don't have a lot. Or you're going overseas, you have to go back to your country, you have to be the imam. There's no real beneficial knowledge in the country. No sunnah. No one's on the proper aqidah. You have to take what you can. You don't have the time to specialize in a thing. You have to be well-rounded, do what you can, graduate, and what? Go back. A person may have more time. Everybody understand this? A person may be young, a person may be older. You may have children, you're married, you're a sister, you have a husband, whatever the situation is. Everybody understand this? He says, and also the country, the mawdi', the place in which a person lives. I'm in America, I'm in Canada, I'm in the UK, I'm in Saudi, I'm in Yemen, wherever you are, whatever is available. And obviously the Sheikh, he wrote these words many years ago, before there was anything known as the internet. Before there was this mass globalization that we live in which I'm in Zimbabwe and I'm watching and listening like I'm in what? Hollis, Queens. Everybody understand this? Everybody clear on this or not? In which there is no such thing as I can't attend, I can't listen. Because of the what? Everybody understand this or not? Khair inshallah, social media, things like this. He then says, وتعيين ما يشتغل به من الكتب يختلف باختلاف الأحوال والبلدان. He says, and what books should you study? Allahu alam, how commonly asked that question is. He says it depends on the situations and the countries in which you're in, i.e. how old you are, how much understanding you have, how much Arabic you have, what you need, and what country you're in, i.e. is it wise for me to study Shafi'i fiqh and I live in Turkey? Is it wise to study Hanafi fiqh and I live in Morocco? Everybody understand this? Is it wise for me to study Maliki fiqh and I live in America? Depending on the place and the time where you are. He says, rahimahullah, وَالْحَالَةُ التَّقْرِيبِيَّةُ فِي نَظْرِنَا هُنَا أن يجتهد طالب العلم في حفظ مختصرات الفن الذي يشتغل به فإن تعذر أو قصر عليه حفظه لفظا فليكرره كثيرا حتى ترسخ معانيه في قلبه ثم تكون باقي كتب الفن كالتوضيح والتفسير لذلك الأصل الذي أدركه وعرفه. He says, and to make things approximate, to try our best to accurately summarize it, what we see, he says, في نظرنا, our opinion, is for a student of knowledge to work hard and to try his or her best in memorizing the small manuals for each field. To memorize the mukhtasarat, a small book in each what? Each field. Usul, a small book in fiqh, a small book in hadith, a small book in mustalah hadith, a small book in seerah, a small book in usul tafsir, a small book in tafsir. وهكذا. Small book in tawheed, the list goes on. He says, and then he says, and this small book being the book that you want to deal with. He then says, and if you can't memorize it verbatim, you can't memorize it word by word, then at least constantly repeat it until the meanings are clearly established in your head. I don't have it memorized by heart, but I know it from cover to cover pretty well. I know my way around pretty well about this book. And he says, in all the other books on this science or this field, add nothing more than further clarification. Further clarification, further interpretation of that small stepping stone, the matan. طيب. He says here, فلو حفظ طالب العلم العقيدة الواسطية لشيخ الإسلام تيمية وثلاثة الأصول وكتاب توحيد الشيخ محمد وفي الفقه مختصر الدليل ومختصر المقنع وفي الحديث بلوغ مرام وفي النحو الأجرومية. And he mentions a few books that he feels that student knowledge should memorize. We're going to stop here. We don't want to get into the specifics. We just want to give you that solid lump. Bidhnillahi ta'ala, hopefully it can help myself out, help you out. Bidhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahu alam. Now we get started if we have any questions.
Assalamualaikum, brothers and sisters online. Please ask your questions in the Hadith disciple format, in the requested format. If you do not ask your questions in that format, your question will be skipped. Jazakumullah khair. First question online today. Initials MS from Rockville, Maryland. Do you have any workshops about debts, either on the channel or planned, regarding questions like going to Umrah with a debt, the types of debt, and others related to it?
No, we don't have any workshops on the channel, and what I know of. Perhaps within that time in the future, we can put that on a list of things to talk about in depth. Whether we give it a workshop or 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute, or series of classes, either or, inshallah ta'ala. In general, as we've explained before on the channel, it's permissible to make umrah if you have a debt that's an open debt. And most people today in 2017, not all, there are a few people that Allah has truly blessed, but most of us, one way or another, have some type of what? Debt. So pay close attention, guys, and not to get stuck in the past. You have an electric bill, a gas bill, rent, this and that. That's a what? That's a debt. So you always constantly have some type of what? In 2017, or we might as well start saying 2018, inshallah ta'ala. So there's always some type of debt that you have. It's permissible to make hajj. It's permissible to make jihad fi sabilillah. If you have that type of debt, in which the person doesn't mind, and you also have it recorded and written down. You've entrusted someone with taking care of that debt. As far as you don't have it written or recorded, or the person is knocking at your door, calling your phone, calling on a blocked number, then that's a different what? Story. And the same applies to giving sadaqah as well. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials MY from Dundee, Scotland. You spoke about Metten worship. Please explain.
In brief, we only have a minute and a half, and inshallah we'll put this on the list to explain in detail as well. In brief, what we mean by this term is to take a book, whatever the book is and whatever the subject is, and to stick with it and stay with it for the rest of your life as a student of knowledge. Not as a layman, but an actual aspiring student of knowledge. This book, such as, let's say, for example, Al-Bayquniyah. Imam Al-Bayquni, rahimahullah, did not write his book as an exhaustive and extensive work on the field of hadith science. He wrote his book for no other reason except as a primer, an introductory text to get your feet wet, to wet your beak for something that's bigger, longer, and in more depth. Clear on this? Obviously by the style of the poem, let alone the size of the poem. So an example in brief of Metten worship is for me, a sheikh or a student, to take this small book and explain it in 3 volumes or 2 volumes or one big thick volume. Or to quote Iraqi and Al-Biqai and Hafiz bin Hajar and this one and Ibn Rajab Fulan said in the Sharh Bayquniyah. That's not the maqsood. You save that for Nukhat and Sharh al-Tirmidhi and this book and that book. This is a simple, easy, this is what's meant, this is an example, it's the types, move forward. You want that big juicy stuff, move on to the next book. Everybody understand this? And the same applies to studying it and keep teaching the book over and over again and studying over and over again and neglecting the other books.
Initials MY from Dundee, Scotland. What is the correct way to study the Metten?
Inshallah ta'ala, you can go back to many classes. We spoke about this in the explanation of Al-Bayquniyah. And also the beginning of the explanation of Nukhbat al-Fikr on the channel. The proper way of studying the Metten. We've explained it in other classes as well. In brief, like we just read, if you can memorize it by heart. If you can't memorize it, then at least have the understanding. So memorize it over and over again. Repeat it constantly until it's firmly planted in your head. Then read the explanation. Sit with a qualified teacher, whether he's a student, a scholar, whoever that person is qualified, and teach you the book and instruct you, and you don't leave the book, you don't go into another book until you've understood it, until you've memorized it, until you have the main principles and maxims, the qawaid from that metin. Then you move on to a bigger book or a different book. So that's the proper way of studying a metin. The metin is not meant to spend 5 classes on one sentence or one line. That's for Fath al-Bari, 13 volumes. Or a book even bigger than Fath al-Bari, At-Tamheed, Tarh al-Tathrib, wa hakadha. A matn is short, simple, and concise. And the matn is only meant to get you prepared for something which is what? Bigger and more extensive. So this is a proper way of studying the matn in brief. If you want more detail, we've explained it on the channel. And perhaps we'll even do more workshops on it. Maybe a workshop just on how to successfully study a what? A matn.
Initials M.Y. Dundee, Scotland. What are the etiquettes of a student of hadith with regards to time?
Etiquettes of a student of hadith with regards to time. Alhamdulillah, we've explained this as well in the explanation of 40 hadith on seeking knowledge. A chapter, be wise with your time, O student of knowledge. We explained that. The hadith of Abdullah ibn Abbas. Also, we spoke countless times about Surah Al-Asr. Okay? Also, we've explained the etiquettes of a talib al-hadith in many classes with that actual title. The etiquettes of a student of hadith. So go back to those classes and those lectures. You'll find the answer to this question and many more. The brief answer right now is a student of knowledge with time is like a miser with money. A stingy old Scrooge with money. And I'm sure you can make other examples and parables and cultural cliches with regards to people that are known or commonly referred to as being extremely what? Stingy with wealth, which we're not going to say right now on the channel. That's how you should be when it comes to your time. Be stingy with your time and only spend your time and that which is a benefit for your soul and a benefit for someone else's soul and a benefit for your further advancement and progression of studying hadith. Laughing, joking, playing in this, going here and that. If you don't have to, don't do it. And be wise and prioritizing what's most important, what comes first. This is important, but this is more important. And realize time is the most golden gift that Allah has given man. And that's why he swore by it in the Quran.
Initials A.J. Bowie, Maryland. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ya Ustad, may Allah protect you and your family from all evils. Ameen. What is the ruling on a man who never tells his wife thank you or he loves her?
Allah tells us to treat our wives kindly and to live with them honorably. Now, everybody understand this? The general rule is to treat everybody kindly. Those who deserve to be treated kindly. Unless you have to treat someone in a manner that's not kind, it's unkind. What's important is this woman is your wife. She shares a bed with you. She bears your children. She's carrying on your lineage. She knows your secrets. She can poison you, kill you in your sleep. Everybody understand this? She has given herself to you. She's supposed to be the closest person to you. You can have a friend, a brother that's your what? Right-hand man that you've known for years. And there's certain things that he may not know about you that she does. Whether it's physical things, mental things, or spiritual things. And each relationship is different. So therefore, how can a woman who's this close to you be someone that you can't give a basic, simple word of kindness? And the Prophet ﷺ told us, do not scorn any act of good, even if it's to meet your brother with a pleasant face. Biwajhin talqin. And saying a kalima tayyiba, a good word to your brother, let alone what? Your wife. So that's my advice to that husband. If a man doesn't love his wife or something like that, then that's a different story. Okay? Say good things and kind things to the woman that you love. And if you don't love her, also say kind things to her as well, according to the situation.
S. Masood Zoli, the Netherlands. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Haik Allah Sufyan. Kaf Hadi.
What do you advise a serious student of knowledge when he gets distracted by trying to help too much? Brothers and sisters, please type in your questions full. Do not type them in abbreviated. Jazakumullah khair.
Concentration, mental fortitude is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, like all natural gifts of Allah Azza wa Jal, gifts have to be honed and harvested. They have to be perfected. They have to be burnt and banged, forged. Everybody understand this? They have to be forged. So you have to practice on concentrating. Force yourself to concentrate. Make yourself a challenge. Put yourself in a situation in which you're forced to concentrate. Maybe a year ago, there's a brother who contacted me via one of my disciples that I had in the Prophet ﷺ city. And he said he wanted to do an interview with me. All right, the brother who runs the Seerah Masters page. And he asked me a question. What pushes you? What motivates you? What makes you go to the next level? What keeps you focused? So on and so forth. And the interview is on YouTube. You can find it. And I told this brother, among many reasons, from the reasons that keeps me, whatever, is forcing myself to be like that. Putting myself in the front line of the battlefield, in which I know that mistake isn't a what? It's not an option. A mistake is not an option. Everybody understand this? Like fencing with live blades, not wooden bokens, live blades. A mistake is not a what? It's not an option. You make a slip, you lose focus, serious injury or death. So sometimes you have to force yourself to focus and to concentrate. And that can be done by you teaching classes, speaking, and being responsible for things. That's what I said. Wallahu alam.
Initials SC from Brooklyn, New York. What were Prophet Adam's alayhi salam sons' names?
I don't know. I've never read any authentic narrations that give us the specific names of his sons that are authentic from the Prophet ﷺ. As far as biblical traditions, al-Isra'iliyat, so on and so forth, Cain and Abel, so on and so forth, Allahu A'lam. Are they authentic? Not authentic? The Prophet ﷺ tells us not to reject the people of Kitab, nor believe them. Say we believe in that which has been sent down to us. Now, if you deny something, you may reject the truth. If you accept something, you may accept the batil. The Prophet ﷺ also says, hadithu an bani Israel, a report from the people of Israel. What a hajj. So mentioning the Isra'iliyat, the narrations of the previous scriptures, it's not a sin. But to affirm it decisively, it has to be something that's proven in our Sharia. So we have an authentic hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in which he says that his sons were this one, that, that. And if not, we mention what's narrated, this is what they were called, perhaps. But it doesn't change anything in the meaning. The story of Adam, his children, so on and so forth, it is what it is. And it's not going to change because of a name. And that's why there are many prophets Allah tells us about, or different righteous people, and he doesn't mention their name. Because the lesson is what? Is the same. So, Allahu A'lam.
Assalamu alaikum, Abu Hassan from Egypt, Cairo. How can we understand wala wal bara, and is there actual scholars for dollars?
Question says, how do we understand al-wala wal-bara? We understand it in the Kitab, Sunnah, and Ijma'. We love statements, actions, places, times, situations, and people that are beloved to Allah and His Messenger. We show them loyalty, allegiance, and association according to how close they are to the Sunnah. We show hatred, disassociation, and lack of loyalty to places, statements, times, people, and actions according to how far they are from the Kitab and from the Sunnah. It's just that simple. Those whom Allah says love, we love. In general. Those whom Allah says that He loves and He's pleased with, we love them specifically. Those whom Allah hates of action, of practice, or specific people, tabbat yada abi lahabin wa hakadha, specifically. It's just that simple. Kitab, Sunnah, and Ijma'. That's al-wala wal-bara. Applied to all aspects of life. Your friend, your mother, an innovator, a ruler, a scholar, a leader, and the list goes on. As far as how do we, or is there such thing as scholars for dollars? The Prophet ﷺ has informed us that there will be a time in which men will sell their religion for dunya. بِعَرَضٍ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. This is the words of the Prophet ﷺ. Everybody understand this? He informed us that every fitna, or every nation has a fitna, and the fitna of this nation is wealth. Who is the scholar for dollar? Can I point? Can I say this? Are the scholars in Saudi Arabia this and that? That's a different story. But it is a reality that people will sell their deen for money. Whoever they are, wherever they are. Wallahu alam.
Initials SA from Edenhoven, the Netherlands. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What is the ruling on walking humbly in the West? Sometimes humbleness can be mistaken with weakness.
There's no contradiction between being humble and being strong. A true strong man is humble. The mark of a true champion and a true warrior is that he's humble, soft, and mellow. A coward is loud and boisterous and making noise, making conflict with people. A true coward. He may have a bit of courage here and there, try to bully a few people, but deep down inside when it counts, he's not really tough like that. He's not built like that. But a true person has nothing to worry about, nothing to fear. There's no need to walk in and say things and growl and spit at people. Everybody understand this? So you walk humble. What does it mean to walk humbly? You have to walk with your head down. You have to walk like you're sad and you're depressed. Or does it mean that you don't run and curse and holler and you make noise? You just relax. Be easy. Be simple. Allah is above me. Allah Azza wa Jal, He tells us in the Quran, إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضِ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ طُولًا. Allah says, وَلَا تَمْشِي فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَحًا. Don't walk around the earth in pride and boastfulness and haughtiness. Why not? إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضِ. You never penetrate the earth, nor will you reach the mountains in height. So it doesn't mean that you're humble, that you have to be weak and measly. It doesn't mean that. Everybody understand this?
Asia from UK. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Do you have to have wudu if you're reading from a Quran translation which also contains Arabic text?
We have the city and the city, inshallah.
Initials MS from Rockville, Maryland. Do you know if any books that give either brief or extensive biographies of the people in the past who were attributed to a lot of hadith studies?
To a what?
A lot of hadith study.
The books of Tarajum, the books of Siyar, the different books of the biographies, whether it's the biographies of a specific time period, whether it's the ulama of a country, whether it's the ulama who came and went, visited a country, such as Tariq Baghdad. Khatib Baghdadi wrote a book on everyone who entered Baghdad. Everybody understand this? وهكذا. Simple. The books that deal with the ulama of hadith and the tulab of hadith of the past. Once again, whether it's a specific time period, a country, a location, a lineage. The scholars of a specific book, Rijal Kutub Sitta, the men, also women, but in most cases the men of the 6 books of hadith. وهكذا. As far as English, then alhamdulillah, there are books that deal with this as well. Many of them we've discussed on the channel in the critical book reviews. And some of them we haven't yet discussed, and some of them we won't necessarily discuss or review. Bidnillahi ta'ala. Wallahu a'lam.
Samir Muslim, Toronto, Canada. Outside of the Quran and Ahadith, what are some mutun or poems you would advise a student to memorize?
It depends on the need of the student, and it depends on how far you want to go. If you have a good memory and you're willing to put in the years and the time, then the general rule is to memorize anything you come across. Some people say that Imam al-Bukhari would memorize things in other languages if he needed to. He didn't even know the language. He would just what? Memorize it, because he never knew when he would need that. So if you have the ability to soak up and to suck up and to sponge up and to bounty, paper towel, everything up, quicker picker-upper, as they say. If you have the ability to do that, then what? Why not? Why not? If you don't have the ability, your time is limited, or you don't want to, then focus on the things that you're going to come across in need. So, for example, if you want to study al-Ajurumiyya, you can study the Mandhuma of al-Ajurumiyya. Study Alfiyat ibn Malik, مثلا, Mulhat al-I'rab, مثلا, and Lugha. Everybody understand this? Obviously, the different Mandhumat on Tajweed and the rules of Tajweed and then Qira'at. وهكذا. The different Mandhumat, مثلا, on Mustalah al-Hadith, مثلا إسبال المطر في قصب السكر مثلا the Alfiya al-Iraqi مثلا. It all depends. There are mandhumat on fiqh as well. وهكذا. Whatever you feel the need, whatever you feel as important and a need for you in your pursuit of knowledge, depending on the time and the place, like we read from Ibn Sa'di's kalam.
Initials MY from Dundee, Scotland. How to practically take yourself to account and improve adab?
How do you take yourself to account and what?
Improve adab.
Improve adab? Look at what you do before you do it, and look at what you do after you do it. Before you want to say something or do something, if you have doubt about it, sit down and think about it. Meditate over it. Evaluate it. Should I say this? Do I have to go here? Do I do this? And then after you've done it, look at yourself as well. Could I have done a better job? Did I have to say that? Did I have to go there? I could have focused more. Everybody understand this? Be critical on yourself. Now, don't be ungrateful to Allah for His blessings, but be critical on yourself. Always be your worst critic. Everybody understand this? And the people who are around you, they shouldn't be people, I don't know what they say in Scotland, but in America, people would say brown noses, all right, or people who kiss up or suck up. You don't want yes men around you. Yeah, that was great, excellent, that's it. You may want a brother or student who's going to differ with you and say, no, sensei, la. What about this? What about Ibrahim alayhi salam, this and that? There's no such thing as this in Islam. You don't want someone that's around you that's always going to just flatter you. And you may want someone who's teaching you or training you never to give you too much praise. Everybody understand this? Never to give you what? Too much praise. Now, obviously, we make boxing references, and there are many wisdoms in that. The ruling on boxing is not our discussion right now. What's important is it was well known in the late 80s, or the mid 80s, early 90s, Mike Tyson would knock a guy out in the first round, the second round, totally destroy him. And his corner man would come and say, we give him a C. C minus. Everybody understand this? C minus, and he knocked the guy out. When, Khalid? First, second round. He got A+, but he's not going to say that to him in his face. To continue his pursuit of perfection and training harder and focusing and concentrating even what? Even more. Everybody understand the point? The wisdom? Wallahu alam. Sahih? Is that correct?
Alhamdulillah. Initials AT, Ibn Masood, Edenhoven, the Netherlands. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. What is the ruling on buying clothes in the stores, not knowing where they take their clothes from? Then you get Jannah. Wow.
If you need the clothes, buy the clothes. If you don't need them and you're doubtful, then don't buy them. No matter what you do, no matter how much maneuvering you try to make, unfortunately, the dunya, one way or another, is some type of dealing or involvement. But it's not always necessarily haram. They may get these clothes from, let's say, textiles come from Bangladesh, or these shoes are made in China. They say they're ripping people off, they're robbing people, they're this, they're that, sweatshop, so on and so forth. But in Bangladesh or in China, that may be the going rate for labor. That may be the price of production there. It's extremely cheap. But not in America. That's slavery in America for a person to work with this wage. But that's America, and that's what? Bangladesh. Everybody understand this? And if it wasn't beneficial for them, or if it wasn't something that was a good thing, then they wouldn't be doing business. So to involve yourself where everything comes from and how it's made and this and that is going to be problematic. Cars, clothes, technology, no matter what, that's not necessarily your responsibility. The Muslim is to be aware, yes. The Muslim is not supposed to be someone who just has a blind eye. No. But there is a balance and there's a limit. Everybody understand this? If you feel that you want to avoid the materialism and brand names and the worship of those brand names, that's best for you. Wallahu a'lam.
Initials AJ, Bowie, Maryland. What advice can you give to a husband who has 2 wives and he spends his free time with the wife? They don't have children together. With the other wife together, they have 4 together. He does not give her rights. He does not give her rights of time. Mind you, he worked 5.5 days, and he come home 11 p.m. to the wife with the kids, eats, and goes to sleep.
The advice we give to him, to anybody else, is to fear Allah. And you must, it's not an option, you must treat your wives equally with regards to time. It is not an option. I love one wife more than the other. Can't control that. I'm physically attracted to one wife more than another. Can't physically what? Control that. Everybody understand this? I'm more fond of this, that son you can't control. Time you can control. Ittaqillah. Fear Allah. And we also give advice to this first wife. And to make sure that you're not doing something, or you're refraining from doing something which is a reason and a cause behind this. Whether it is how you speak to him, your appearance, the food that you're cooking, whatever it is, the management of the children, how you run the house, whatever the thing may be that you're doing to cause him to go away from you, or something that you're not doing that isn't pulling him in. Everybody understand this? And if you've tried your best to do what's good and to avoid what's bad, you can't control the situation. Be patient. So we give advice to both of you. But the man has to fear Allah. There's no extra time that you give. La.
Initials UW, London, UK. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. You said that it's upon the Imam to straighten the rows. But what is the case for the woman as the Imam isn't there with them? Is it wrong for one from the woman to straighten the row? Barakallahu fikum.
A woman should straighten the rows just like a man. That's why we say every Friday, sisters, straighten your rows just like men. Whether the imama does it or whether she appoints a deputy or deputess, if that's a word in English, to straighten the row. Just like a man, no difference.
Initials OA from Dortmund, Germany. What do we get to know about the angels in Hadith?
We get to know the names of some of them, the actions of some of them, the descriptions of some of them, the nature of some of them. وهكذا. That's what we get to know about the angels and the Hadith. And those whose names we don't know, we often get more of a vivid description of some of their actions as well, more vivid than certain things in the Quran, without their names. Okay? Also, we get from certain Hadiths numbers of certain angels. How many angels each enter the Bayt al-Ma'mur each day and leave and exit? وهكذا. How many angels come when you make this statement, when you say this in a salah? وهكذا. This is what we get from the Hadith regarding what? The angels. Also, some physical descriptions. How many wings Jibreel has? Who looks like Jibreel in his humanoid fashion from the Sahaba? Everybody understand this? How large this angel's shoulder is in the hellfire, and so on and so forth. How long this largest angel is, the Hamalat al-Arsh, وهكذا. We get this from the Hadith. Wallahu alam.
Initials SA, Edenhoven, the Netherlands. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Should you and how to advise someone who uses extreme weak ahadith, and if he is above you in knowledge.
You try to give him advice with a source that he'll respect. Well, first, before we even go that far, it depends on the person. There may be someone who's far more knowledgeable than you, but will listen to you. Now, he may listen. He may be open. He may be humble. Just because he's above your knowledge doesn't mean that he's, his head is in the sky. There's some people who have knowledge that are very humble, and they'll listen to reason, whoever brings it. Jazakallah khair. Shukran. Thank you. Alhamdulillah. As far as if a person isn't open to listen to someone who doesn't have this ijazah and that ijazah and this certificate and memorize this and kada and kada and kada, then try to get him a source that is reputable and respected to him, someone that he'll listen to, another imam. And in most cases, you'll find this. Hanafi, someone from Azhar, someone from this country, someone from that country. In most cases, you'll find it if you look enough. This imam said this about bid'ah. He said this about the Prophet's birthday. He said this about weak hadith, so on and so forth. Everybody understand this? So find someone that he respects. And if you can't find someone that he respects, or he's unwilling to listen to you, then you give him nasiha. You give him nasiha, make sure the nasiha is thorough. Make sure it's based off of knowledge. And that's it. If you can say it to his face and he curses at you, alhamdulillah, you did your job. If you can write a note, send him a text message, leave it in his mailbox, whatever way that you can, adina nasiha. Whether he accepts it or not, you've done your job.
Initial MY from Dundee, Scotland. If one took a university student loan, which some scholars said were legitimate, but now he was aware other scholars say is riba, does he now have to pay it off and leave university?
The general rule, before we get into the concept of colleges and mortgages and debts and so on and so forth, is that if a muqallid, a blind follower, a layman Muslim, takes a fatwa of a mujtahid, a qualified scholar, and then later on that scholar changes his ijtihad, no longer has that view, or gets another view from another person, they're not necessarily held at fault for the original fatwa, because they were doing what they were supposed to do. فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. That was the responsibility to ask those who know if they don't know, or in the case when they don't know. So that's first and foremost. That's the general rule of any situation. As far as now, the general layman Muslim is actually convinced that it is haram. If you're convinced. If you're not convinced, that's a different story. But a person feels that this makes sense, it's haram, then that's a different scenario. Not paying back the debt, not paying off the loan, I think, in Allah Alam, is going to be problematic in the future for you, living in the UK or in America. You're having bad credit, they're coming to collect this money, you can't do this, you can't rent that. Permissible things you may not be able to do because of the money that you owe. So just think about that. Now, if you feel that that's not a problem, I'm not worried about it, so on and so forth, that's one thing. But another way of looking at the situation is you took money from these people. What is their sin that you took money from them and now you believe that it was haram? But they gave you the wealth. They gave you the money. That's a bit unfair. Wallahu alam.
Initials AM from Springfield, Virginia. George Mason University. A girl was pressured by her family to agree to marry someone. The nikah hasn't happened yet, but she doesn't feel strong enough to refuse. How should she cope? Her family said they'll kick her out if she doesn't go through, and she feels helpless.
Ask Allah for courage. Pray at night. Ask Allah for courage. Yawm al-Jumu'ah, the different days, times, and hours and situations of dua being accepted, work hard. And ask Allah for strength and for courage. And you have to realize the only way of overcoming fear is to face it directly. There's no other way. You have to face your fear directly. Force yourself. Bottom line. So if you don't have the courage to say something now and the marriage goes through, only Allah knows how things are going to be for you later on. What hurts more? You standing up to them now, or you having to live with this man, have children with this man, have sexual intercourse with this man, and you don't like him, you may hate him, you may detest him. You got to make a choice. One thing's for sure is that you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be afraid and be cowardly and also want things to just go how you want them to go. So what is going to be a worse situation? Dealing with it now is going to hurt, or dealing with Allah, maybe an eternal life with a brother that you don't want to be with. You have to make that decision. Ask Allah for strength, ask Allah for courage. Allahu alam.
Mariam from Cologne, Germany.
Last name or last initial as well.
Initials AH from Brooklyn, New York.
A friendly reminder to all the brothers and sisters once more. Jazakumullah khairan. May Allah bless you well, and bless you and reward you well. Please, if you can, inshallah, put your first and last name. If you don't want to mention first and last name, that's fine. Initial AZAMBP. You must do that. And then the city and the state, the province, the town, etc. If you do not do that, once more, we will not answer your question. Thank you very much for complying.
Initials AH from Brooklyn, New York. Sheikh, may Allah bless you. What madhab should a student of knowledge from a diverse place like America study?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah bless you as well. It depends on the student of knowledge, and it depends on the diverse place. Because even though there's a diverse place in America, there are still pockets which have stronger concentrations than others. There are places that have stronger concentrations than others. In New York City, a diverse place. But you live in Brooklyn. You live in this part of Queens. You live in the Bronx. Where I am, predominantly West Africans. Where I am, predominantly people from Pakistan, India, from Bangladesh. Where I am is predominantly people from Palestine and Egypt. Well, heck of that. So even though it's diverse, you look at the stronger concentration. Secondly is if you live in an actual melting pot, and which is a total mixture of things, then that's a different scenario. Me personally, I would advise a student of knowledge, especially a beginner, to start off with a simple book of hadith and a simple book of fiqh that is not on a specific traditional madhab as a beginner. If you think you want to study a madhab, it's a benefit for your community, you want to clarify some mistakes later on, then that's a different story. So perhaps it may be best to start off with a simple book that is not written on a necessary orthodox method. But if you do want to start off with one, let's look at the stronger concentration. Wallahu alam.
Hanan Aslam from New York, New York. What are the etiquettes of making jokes?
Etiquettes of making jokes, first and foremost, is not to make them too often. Not to make jokes too often. Don't always be a joker all of the time. Secondly is, if you make a joke, make sure that the jokers are true, based off of truth and not a lie. Thirdly, is make sure that you don't injure no one with your joke. Something that many of us do. We bust on each other, as we say, we make fun of each other, and it may what? Hurt your brother's feelings. You may not even realize it. So don't do damage with your tongue. Afterwards, don't make a joke that is a means of praising yourself and puffing yourself up. Everybody understand this? Also, when it comes to jokes, be mindful of what you say. You may say something that's not a joke about the religion, but it may lead to it. There may be 1, 2 steps, and then it's actual mockery of the deen. So be mindful of that. And also, last but not least, is be mindful of who you're joking with. If you joke with someone, even if it's not abundantly or excessively, they may lose respect for you. They may take you as a joker. So be mindful. That's in brief. Wallahu alam.
Initials AJ from Bowie, Maryland. Sheikh Mufti, may Allah bless you and protect you from all evils, both from mankind and jinn. Ameen. How do I maximize how do I maximize the benefits of your video lectures?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan. It depends on what you want. Disciples of different levels. Some brothers, they just like to watch the videos because it makes them feel good. Some people, they catch a benefit here and there. Some brothers, they may watch the videos because it's funny. It makes jokes, or we have crazy questions. And then there are some people that actually are hardcore disciples and disciples. They actually benefit and learn and study and follow the book and follow the hadith, follow the teachings. Devoted disciples. Some people watch the channel, and this is not an exaggeration, they're actual students of knowledge. They know Arabic, they live overseas, and they benefit and they learn. And there may be some students of knowledge who may watch it to make fun. Or there may be some brothers who may watch it just to make a dislike or a hateful comment. May Allah this and this, they say all types of stuff and they disguise it and they mask. And some people just come straight out with their hatred and their venom. I hate you. And I hate everything you're doing, basically. So what type of person are you? If you're someone that really wants to take it to the next level, then I will maximize it by learning the books that we've taught. Alhamdulillah, there are many, and there are many more coming. So study Al-Kaba'ir. We made an explanation of the whole book. Memorize the hadiths, memorize the ayat, take the points. Lulu Marjan. How many principles we mentioned? Qawaid, Usul, Kalam of Nawawi. Full of benefit. Follow it up, review it, write it down, summarize it, and make a study circle. Once a week, twice a week. You get with your brothers and sisters and you review and brief.
Layyan, Brooklyn, New York. I came across a hadith that mentions that when a believer that recites the Quran often dies, the Quran comes to his grave in the form of a handsome man and gives glad tidings of Jannah. It is authentic. Barakallahu feekum.
I don't know this hadith being authentic. Allahu alam.
Mariam from Cologne, Germany. Last name. Initials SS from Cologne, Germany. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Is it allowed for a sister to travel overseas with the intention of seeking knowledge if at the destination, the destined country is a jama'ah of sisters from the same country?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. We've explained this on Mufti Q&A. A ruling or the ruling of a woman traveling without a mahram. If it's a necessity to travel without a mahram, then the ruling of necessity is well known. If it isn't a necessity, then it goes back to one or two views. It's absolutely haram for her to travel in 2017. If it's not a necessity without a mahram, even if someone is meeting her on the other side. Things can happen on a plane, she's sitting with someone on a plane, the list goes on, a layover, accident, crash, etc. Or those ulama who say that a woman is allowed to travel without a mahram if there is safety. If there's what? Safety. And one may say on an airplane there's safety. There are cameras, there's security, the airport. We live in a civilized nation in 2017, so on and so forth. We've explained this on Mufti Q&A. So if it's a necessity to go overseas and study, then that's one thing. If it isn't a necessity, you should not travel overseas unless you have a mahram, even if sisters from your country meet on the other side. If you feel that the fatwa of those ulama who say that a woman can travel without a mahram because the wisdom is the safety of the road, then that is applicable according to what you feel about that situation. Wallahu a'lam.
Hanan Aslam from New York, New York. Are you allowed to pray behind someone who you know does not have proper tajweed? You know you will have to make up your prayer. However, you want to get the reward of Jamaat.
If someone recites the Quran in a way, in a manner, which changes the meanings of the Quran and makes a mistake which invalidates the prayer, then that prayer exists as if it doesn't exist. La salata liman lam yaqra bi fatihatil kitab. No prayer for he who doesn't recite the Fatiha of the book. And if you recite it and change the meaning, صِرَاطَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمْتُ عَلَيْهِمْ. You say something which changes the word and it invalidates his recitation, as if he didn't what? Recite the Fatiha. And if he didn't recite the Fatiha, then there's no prayer. So there's of no sense or use of you praying behind him, and you feel that he has invalidated his salah. As far as a mistake, it's bad, it's not good, he has a funny voice, makharij, so on and so forth. He's not up to the standards of Khalid in his recitation. That's a different story. We have to say the truth.
Who's leading Salat al-Isha? Move, inshallah. Allah understand. Brother's asking what time will be class on Saturday?
Tayyip, there won't be no class here in the masjid on the Van Wyck on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, and of course, not on Monday. I don't know if we have the ability to live stream the event in New Jersey. If we can, then we will. And if we can't, then at least we will make the video. And if we can't do the video, then we'll try to keep the audio and upload it for you, inshallah ta'ala. My advice is, inshallah, hopefully there are more than enough reruns on Hadith Disciple to keep you busy. Huh? Let alone the fact that we said not everybody watches all 1,600 videos. So if you haven't watched every 1,600 videos, then what? Go to the YouTube tab and the oldest, the first uploaded video, and start. And if you have watched all 1,600 videos, then it's barakah in the rerun. Inshallah. Wa alaikum salam.
Initials MA from Toronto, who said, is vomiting due to sickness, expiation of sins? Is childbearing considered a sickness?
If you vomit, in which most people when they vomit, it causes them extreme pain and discomfort, bad taste, the acid, your teeth, over the toilet, throwing your guts out, very painful, food poisoning, etc. There lies no doubt that that's a sickness, no doubt about that. Also pregnancy and feeling weak and having fatigue and this and that, without a doubt. Ankles swelling up and things like that, no doubt about that. Wallahu alam.
Hanan Aslam from New York, New York. How do you make your intentions pure? Sometimes I do a good deed, but I fear that it's out of showing off or such things.
The believer should always be afraid. But if you do a good deed, make your intention for Allah. Make your intention for it to benefit your soul. After you do it, don't look and think about, was it this, was it that? Shaitan will creep up on you. Everybody understand this? Shaitan will creep up on you. So it's just that simple. Sadaqah is ibadah, worship. Worship is only for Allah, my creator. No one else is a creator except Allah. Everyone else created. Just that simple. And make it for yourself a constant struggle to make sure that you check your niyyah. However, the Prophet ﷺ said, وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ امْرِئٍ مَا نَوَىٰ. He said, and for each man is that which he intended. As far as the narrations, I never fought a struggle worse than my intention. I never. Those are the words of the Tabi'een. It's not the words of Muhammad ﷺ. Muhammad's words are clear. Every man will get what he intended. مَا عَلَجْتُ شَيْئًا أَشَدَّ عَلَيَّ مِنْ نِيَّتِي. I never fought and struggled something worse than my niyyah. That's the statement of Sufyan. That's not the statement of Muhammad ﷺ. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. These are based on intentions. You have to do this every 5 seconds. Check it. You're afraid. It's not the words of the Prophet ﷺ. The Quran as well. Lucid. Those who want the hereafter. Those who want the face of Allah. Those who want hakada. Make your intentions for Allah pure and sincere. Go straight.
Initials AJ from Bowie, Maryland. Sheikh Mufti, what advice can you give to our brothers and sisters who upload Quran videos or other beneficial lectures, but somewhere in the middle of the videos, they allow ads in them, and some of the videos contain haram in them. And when I research into it, the uploader that allows the ads to earn money. Please advise.
The Quran is the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The speech of Allah is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the attribute of Allah Azza wa Jal goes back to Allah. It's attached to Allah. So the etiquettes and the respect that we have with Allah apply to His attributes. We respect the kalam of Allah. Everybody understand this? If you play it, if you recite it, if you teach it, if you write it down, we respect it. In a video, dealing with the mushaf, a class, we respect Allah's kalam. We respect the kalam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Huh? Wallahu alam.
Initials M.A. from Scotland. Can you please do a lecture?
The city, please. The town, the city. Once more, brothers and sisters. Jazakumullah khairan.
Can you please do a lecture on the discrepancies with the location/birth of Dajjal? Is he alive in an island? Hadith Tamim Adari, or is he be born, etc.? Is he to be born, etc.?
Inshallah ta'ala, we'll write that down on a list of things to discuss in detail. Jazakallah khairan for your concern.
Initials AA, Santa Rosa, California. Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling of buying clothing with animated pictures on it? Example, baby clothes with dinosaurs.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Inshallah ta'ala, hopefully there's nothing wrong with it. If you can find clothes that don't have the dinosaurs on it, then that's best. And if you don't, most clothes, diapers, Pampers, have some type of baby dinosaur or some type of animal on it. La ba's. The people of knowledge, they say these things are they're mumtahana, being sat upon. Person, the baby lays on it, soils the clothes. It's not something that's respected and extolled. Inshallah ta'ala, la ba's. Also the concept of mimma ta'ummu bihil balwa is something that is so widespread, and a Muslim will fall into great difficulty and hardship to avoid. Wallahu alam. Astaghfirullah.
Initials RE from Richmond, Virginia. I have been getting closer to the deen, and I would like to take the next step by wearing abaya. But my mom won't allow me and threaten to rip them if I wear them. What should I do?
If your mother is a non-Muslim, or if your mother is a Muslim, depends on the situation. It also depends on if you have the ability to leave the home, if you're old enough, if that's not going to cause a major problem in your family. At the end of the day, if you know something is good and beneficial for your soul, if you know something is mandatory upon you, then you cannot care or concern about any human being. Because a day will come in which you won't want to have anything to do with a human being, and it's only your own soul. So if your mother's a Muslim, make dua for Allah to expand her breast, open her chest, give her advice, talk to her, show her in the Quran, which Allah clearly talks about hijab. And the Prophet ﷺ talks about hijab. If she's a non-Muslim, then explain to your non-Muslim mother, this is a part of my religion, my faith. I have to do it. My faith is not just secular. It's not just one day out of the week. I have to do physical things. Everybody understand this? At the end of the day, be kind, be patient, but you must be firm and you must be resolute. Absolutely. If she rips them, okay, buy more. And show your mother that your will is stronger than hers. And she's not going to win a fight of wills. I'm going to do it every time you try to go against me. And someone's going to quit, or a decisive moment will come in which you may have to part ways. Allahu alam.
Initial HA from Berkshire, UK. Allah preserve you, Ustad. Which kuliya would you recommend out of كلية دعوة وأصول الدين or K Sharia?
Which of the two would I recommend? Wallahi, dear disciple, it depends. Everybody's different. What you have the natural ability to do, the natural talent for, inclination towards, what's your study, work ethic, it depends. Your town, your city, your community, your household, what's needed, Allahu Alam. I'll say this. One of the most widespread misconceptions that many people have is that if you go to a college, you're automatically going to be weak and ignorant and totally lacking in the other fields. That's wrong. I studied in Quranic Sharia. It does not necessitate that I'm weak in Hadith. It does not necessitate that I know nothing about Aqidah. It does not necessitate that I don't know tafsir. It doesn't necessitate that I memorize the Quran and I know a different qira'ah. It doesn't necessitate that. But it means this is what I want to focus on and study on the most. It doesn't mean that I have to be totally beneath the level of proficiency in other schools. So that doubt has to be shattered. Everybody understand this? Figure out what you have the ability to do and what you have the desire to do. I can't say Sharia, Dawah is good in both of them. It's good in both of them. It's good in all of the colleges. It depends on you, your community, how long you want to study, you want to do your masters, you want to go back to the UK. It all depends. Fi kullin khair. The Prophet ﷺ says the strong believer is better and more beloved to Allah, more beloved to Allah and better than the weak believer. Fi kullin ish khair. There's good in what? All.
That question was, may Allah preserve you. Which college would you recommend for someone studying in Saudi between the College of Dawah, Usul al-Din, and the College of Sharia? That was a question. Initials, AJ from Bowie, Maryland. What is the ruling on a husband who wants a threesome with two of his wives at the same time in the same bed? And if the wife agree and the other wife refuse to take part in this, is she wrong?
First and foremost, please go back to the playlist that we did called Polygamy in Light of the Book and the Sunnah. Polygamy in Light of Kitab and Sunnah. I believe it was the third part. We discussed the rulings of a threesome. A man who has two wives. This is a real question, guys. It's nothing to laugh about. This is real. We discussed this ruling. Is it permissible for a man who's in a polygamous relationship to enjoy both his wives at the same time? We explained that in I think the third part or the second part. Go back to the playlist, inshallah. The brief ruling now is avoid that, stay away from that, and do not do that. If your husband requests a threesome, tell him no. Advise him to fear Allah. If you know the proofs and evidences and you can, then do that. And if not, say fear Allah. I was advised that this is to be totally avoided. And do not listen to your husband and having a threesome with him and your co-wife. Wallahu alam.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. This is your brother Kawkab from Astoria, Queens. Sheikh, I wanted to know if you don't have money to go to Hajj, but you have enough to go to Umrah, which one should you do?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear brother Kawkab, may Allah bless you. If you could please be generous enough to provide your last name or the last initial, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakallah khairan. We have no problem helping you out, giving you advice and answering the question, but we have to obey the rules of Hadith disciple. Jazakallah khairan, Kawkab. طيب مسامة كيف حالك؟
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. Initials NB from Toronto, Canada. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh. May Allah love you. The Salaf would benefit in their city before moving on. How can we know when we've maximized our locality?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ameen, and you as well. In brief, a very important principle I would like to share with you and everyone else. And that is, I can't say all, but we can agree, inshallah, the vast majority of the Salaf al-Salih did not live as minorities, as Muslims. They were majorities. Second point or principle is, we know for sure there was no globalization in the time of the Salaf al-Salih. Everybody understand this? So, for a person to say, I'm going to benefit in my country and not travel first, is that 101% accurate here in America or Canada? Or is it more applicable to your attitude and your mindset? How many masjids are there in New York City, in Queens alone? Let alone New York City, let alone New York State. Does it mean I have to go to every single masjid, every imam, every student of knowledge, every sheikh, and benefit and get ijazah and take all the knowledge, then go to Saudi? I may spend 10, 20 years. I may not what? Get done. Or does it mean that I'm serious and hungry about what's available to me for free, without sacrifice and pain and punishment? Akhi, you don't read Arabic, you don't study, and it's given to you for free in Queens, New York. You don't appreciate benefit that's been given to you for free. What makes you think you're going to go overseas and be this Ibn al-Qayyim? Everybody understand the difference? Huge what? Huge difference between both. It's a critical point to understand. And in brief, when I was in Philadelphia, I didn't learn from everybody in Philadelphia. I didn't study with every single imam, but I was hungry. And anyone that I could come across and get hand to, I harassed and forced them to teach me. Then when the time was right, to Medina. And it was how many masjids that I didn't what? Go to. It doesn't necessarily mean that. The prominent figures that's available. Be what? Proper understanding. Allahu A'lam.
Initials LC from Newcastle, England. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If one is traveling on a Jumu'ah, does he still have to make a ghusl?
من جاء منكم الجمعة فليغتسل. Hadith says anyone who goes to Jumu'ah should wash. So if you're not going to Jumu'ah, you don't have to wash.
Initials LC from Newcastle, England. Assalamu alaikum. Is it permissible to wear clothing with images of people / animals, etc.? Is this restricted to prayer, or is this a general ruling? For example, a person may wear a sports shirt with images on.
The general rule is that you shouldn't wear it. Prayer, time for prayer, grown, you shouldn't wear it. All right, that's the general rule. However, there are certain images which aren't necessarily Islamically prohibited or not necessarily Islamically disliked, depending on the image. A full body, face, neck, shoulders, it's one thing. A silhouette, one thing. Just a head, one thing. Head with no eyes, what? It's a different scenario of images that we have. Naam. Wallahu a'lam.
Brother Kaukab Chowdhury. This is your brother Kaukab from Astoria, Queens. Sheikh, I wanted to know if you don't have money to go to Hajj, but you have enough to go to Umrah, which one should you do?
Assalamu alaikum, brother Kokab. May Allah reward you. Go make Umrah. Do not listen to the people who say, wait and get the money for Hajj. Go make Umrah as soon as you can. The most basic, simple, hot package for Umrah, go and do it. Only Allah knows how inspired you will become when you see the Kaaba for the first time. I remember when I was 18, the first time I saw the Kaaba, it was breathtaking. And it took several days in Mecca to just actually come to reality that I'm in Mecca. It was unbelievable. It was fake. They say surreal. This is not real. And they say, whoa, subhanallah. And then you go to the Prophet's masjid. You smell the air. You walk on the ground. It's like, subhanallah. I gotta what? Gotta come back. I gotta live here. I gotta study here. Everybody understand this? I'm not leaving. You can't become addicted to a thing unless you do what? You gotta try it out. And you may try it out. It don't mean you gotta drink the whole bottle, but just you gotta take a what? A sip. This is a reality. So go and make Umrah. Only Allah knows how many brothers, they say, I want to go overseas, I'm saving money, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to, month, year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Don't be like that. Go make Umrah a what? Sat. By Allah's permission.
Souwez Ibn Masood, Edenhoven, the Netherlands. Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling on watching anime with Arabic subtitles? To improve your Arabic, would that take from the barakah of the studies?
Tayyib. The brother or the sister, they gave salams, right? They said assalamu alaikum?
Yeah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace and blessings to all Hadith disciples in the Netherlands. Watching any type of animation or movie or cartoon or series, it has its own rulings. Is it haram because images are drawn and illustrated? Music, women, kuffar, loving their ways, being pleased with their ways, being amazed with their ways. That has its own set of what? Rulings. Sometimes it's haram, no doubt. Whether it's because of this, the music, the illustration, whatever the case may be. And sometimes it's not necessarily haram. Sometimes it may be disliked. Sometimes it may be a necessity. As far as the issue of learning Arabic, then I'm going to say this. There lies no doubt of the tangible benefit that many people get from learning Arabic and reading subtitles. There's no doubt about that. And the one who denies that is denying reality, especially when it comes to cartoons and things like this. Certain things your kids may memorize by hearing a cartoon, watching something on YouTube, and they can't memorize it if you tell them 1,000 times from a book. Everybody understand this? So we don't make the haram halal. But we say, if you're hungry, you're trying to learn, get in what? Where you fit in. That's all I want to say. Wallahu alam. Make sense? Everybody understand?
Hanan Aslam from New York, New York. Does ink break and or stop one from doing wudu? And if so, how much of it would break wudu and or how much of it is required to stop one's wudu from continuing?
Ink? Type. This will be the last question, alhamdulillah, for tonight's session. If you mean ink on your hands, on your face, then no. The water will fall upon your skin, your fingernails normally. Ink is it's almost like henna, if not the same. It doesn't leave an actual film unless it's a coating of ink. Or ink that's what? Beneath the skin, the tattoo, something like this. The traditional means or the ancient means of getting a tattoo. Everybody says, well, you get ink on your finger, it spills on you. You can still see your fingerprints through the ink. You can still see the follicles and stuff through the ink. So it doesn't prevent you from making a valid wudu. As far as if you mean ink coming from your body, Allahu a'lam. Maybe a person reads so much, uses the quill so much, say that one is not used yet. This one, the ink may what? Come out of his pores. And maybe a true hadith disciple what? Sweats ink in his sleep. Perhaps.
Sheikh, we got 2 more questions if you want to finish.
It's time for the adhan. No, I'm sorry. It's time for the iqamah now. Please forgive us. We must stop. Jazakumullahu khairan for your time and your attention. May Allah help us and allow us to answer the questions in a more efficient manner, and serve you better. May Allah make the sin in front of Him easy for us.